recording, so we are good to go. Ray, where you been all day today?
Trying to get that second Airbnb up and running. It's a log cabin, and we had the driveway stuff delivered today, and we're doing our final punch out, and it's going to be online this weekend. So I'm only 5 weeks behind schedule.
Ready to rent?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I want to move. I was thinking, that's kind of a neat little place. It's not a real big log cabin. I mean, it's a 3-bedroom, but it's kind of a neat place just to go hang out. You know, got the TV set up, ready to watch football game, the Super Bowl out there. We ought to have a Super Bowl party out there.
We could, but that is the day before we leave for Florida. If I'm not mistaken,
Right.
If I have my dates right, I think that's the day that we leave, a day before. Where's the Airbnb at? The log cabin?
Near Lake Houston.
Oh, okay.
So
Now,
you know, really good. It's kind of sexy looking.
So you know that you just said that, and we're live on Facebook. This is being recorded. So we have it on record that you want to have a Super Bowl party at your log cabin.
Yeah, we got 2 TVs installed. We got a 65-inch TV and a 50-inch TV. Got the cable stuff going. Got the fire pit put in. So I think we're about ready for
it. And you're going to be cooking the barbecue.
No, you don't want me cooking barbecue. Anybody would do better than me.
Mm-hmm. I can.
You know how many times I've barbecued in my life? 0.
0? You have never barbecued? Oh, we got to change that.
No, there's no desire on my part to change that.
Barbecue, you can't go wrong with it. For those that are on here, I'm going to kick off in a minute, but those that are on here, who votes for barbecue? Can't go wrong with barbecue, especially in Texas. That stuff is good.
I didn't say I don't like barbecue. I'm just not the guy that's going to do the barbecue.
For
people
me,
really get into that. The more you learn about it, the more you know people are doing it, the more you realize that it's not for lightweights.
No, you can definitely turn it into another job, but
they do. Those people, they start preparing 3 days in advance. I mean, that's never going to be me.
I'm partial to my cooking. I'm not an expert. I do a lot of burgers and
problem solved. That's all I needed to hear. So you're the cook.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let's stop. I think everybody's hungry, and I'm starting to get hungry talking about all this burger stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. This is our weekly live training. And I know this particular week, Ray doesn't typically always like what we call these things, but we're not here for him. We're here for you guys. So tonight we're going to go down the rabbit hole with Ray, and we're going to open it up at the end for some questions. So definitely get your pen and paper ready. Leave us a comment, say hello, ask your questions, and Hal will get those to us in that segment. But tonight we're going to be talking about using leverage to 10x your business. And so I'm definitely also going to be taking a few notes here because I always typically learn something when I'm on these with Ray. But I definitely want to learn how to leverage as much as I can. So Ray, you want to take over?
Yeah, just hold on. Let me get back to the screen. So you picked the topic tonight, which is leverage, and leverage is a big part of what we want to do in our everyday lives, and especially real estate investing. So some of the things that we want to talk about when it relates to leverage, a lot of people, they think leverage, they think money leverage. And so we're going to talk about money leverage, how it relates to real estate investing. But the other things that are big is, we have our little saying, the MFO. And what does that stand for, James? What you
I was just going to say, you were trying to get me in trouble, but it's Monster for Outcomes.
Yeah, I know the other version of that, but so it's Monster for Outcome. And so when we're trying to get this Airbnb done, and I thought, well, we got 5 of them we're trying to put online at one time. We've never done this before, so that was like the most ridiculous concept that I could have ever had. And so the first one took forever. The second one's taken forever. We've got the third one the third and fourth we're doing simultaneously because it's on the same property. So that one is going to take us, we're about 90% done with that one. And then the fifth one, we're about 80% done. And what I thought I would do is once I got rolling, I would just roll these out 1 week at a time. And it's like, no, it's taking 3 to 4 weeks. And this, what I thought was 90% done is really 50% done. The rehab is just like, I don't even know if the rehab is even half of the process. I mean, it's not more than half. It's probably less than half. And I thought, well, these are pretty much rehab, so it's all the other stuff we got to deal with. Well, all that other stuff just sucks. And we went to the one we were just talking about before the meeting, and then we had to go through there and do that. And by the way, we're unskilled at this. So we don't have the checkoff list. We're making our own checkoff list. We're doing it live without any real skill. And it's as we talk about leverage, you can leverage. There's other kinds of leverage besides money, and which of course we want to talk about. But you can leverage time, you can leverage skill, and you can leverage knowledge, and then of course you can leverage money. So I think we should talk about all those things as it relates to real estate investing. And the most obvious one, or one of the easiest ones, I think, is the time to really see the value of that. Is if you've got a job and it's 300 hours to complete it, and you're going to complete that job based on, say, a 60-hour week, that's 5 weeks, right? So when I first started buying property and I was rehabbing them primarily myself, when we very first started, it was just me and my brother, and then when I went full time, it was primarily me, and then him occasionally, and then when he kind of became part of the operation, it was both of us, and then we started hiring other people, and we started leveraging other people's time, and we didn't have the skill or the talent to manage those people very well, and we still have a long ways to go on that 38 years later, but just leveraging other people's time is where it's at. And if you can get that person's skill, and let's say they're a skilled person, you'd be just shocked at how much time, your time factor goes down. It just blows me away. We use guys who aren't really skilled at something, and the time is just out of control. And then they're skilled, and they literally do the same job in half the time. I mean, and I don't know what the real math is on this, but you get an apprentice something or other and have a real journeyman, and they literally do the job twice as fast, and they generally do it right. So leveraging other people's time, which, I mean, imagine if you have 50 employees, you're leveraging 50 people's time. And if you're the spread on that time, it's going to make you wealthy if it's a decent spread. So just leveraging that time is a good talent, and it takes real skill to do that. The other thing is leveraging people's knowledge, and maybe skill and knowledge are kind of the same thing, but just imagine an attorney who, first of all, went to law school, learned the right way to do things, the technical way. He became a pretty decent wordsmith, and you leverage his experience and his knowledge, his training. What is that worth? If the guy can do it right the first time, or lady can do it right the first time and keep you out of trouble and see things that you might not think about, then leveraging that is just super, super important. And one thing I learned is somebody says, well, somebody else asks you, say, well, what kind of or I need an attorney. Well, that just shows you they're not really hardcore in this business. Because then the next question is, well, what kind of attorney? And they'll say, well, I need a real estate attorney. And then if you're really hardcore in this, there's probably about 15 or 20 specialties in real estate alone for attorneys. And those attorneys that specialize in one thing over another one, by the way, James, we want David Berry on the radio show because I interviewed, we're very knowledgeable on HOA laws. I think in some ways more so than most attorneys, just because we've had 2 or 3 big issues with that, and we've had to dive pretty deep. And I had an HOA issue, and I asked all my real estate buddies, and they would refer this person or that person. And I finally reached out to the right guy, and he said, well, go to David Berry. He's an expert on HOAs. Well, I went to him, and he was the first attorney out of about 15 of them that I called that knew more about HOAs than me. And that's the guy I needed. And that was a guy who knew all the answers, knew the exact way to do stuff. We gave him the problem. He said, do this, I'll do this for you. This is going to take this long. He laid out what the problems were, how to solve it, and he just handled it from A to Z, and everything went perfect. And I've used attorneys before, and I didn't properly qualify them and end up spending a lot of money, not having good results, actually losing money. I mean, getting the wrong person can cost you everything. So becoming a master at leveraging other people's expertise, going beyond what you could do on yourself. And just like in David's case, he specializes in that. He has a couple specialties. That's one of his specialties. And he specializes in that. So he knows more than almost everybody when it comes to representing a person like me in that situation. He knew exactly what to do and how to do it, when to do it, what would work and what wouldn't work, and he knew the special buttons, where the hidden buttons were. You know, like you get these programs and there's little cheats in them, I guess, for the guys that play video games, knowing where all the cheats were, knowing where all the little switches were to get this done and get that done. And it was just so amazing just to go through that and it'd be so simple and come out so predictable. What a wonderful thing. And that was leveraging his experience and leveraging his knowledge. And don't underestimate that. You're really not going to be better than the people you surround yourself with. They're gonna slow you down. They're gonna mess things up. And so leverage that. So that's a couple kinds of leverage. The other kind of leverage is leveraging money. And we'll talk about that. There's some ways that we can leverage money. Were you on the coaching call last night, James?
I was.
Yeah. So we talked. I don't think you were on the back half of it. The first half we were just talking about sub-twos and wraparounds and stuff like that, and just how to kind of structure those. But the second half of that meeting, I think you were gone by then. We really got into leveraging other people's money. Like a sub-two is leveraging other people's money. And leveraging tenant. You know, what's the highest, the best requirement, the most important requirement for the tenant? What is their most important requirement?
Oh, I know that they're going to be they're going to be a long-term tenant, and that they have not moved 10 times in the past 3 years.
Yeah, what I was shooting for though is their job is to pay off the mortgage. You know, so what you said is right. The good tenant, but their job is to pay off the mortgage. So you're leveraging that tenant, to pay off that mortgage, right? Oftentimes people say, well, how does leverage work in real estate? They're talking about the financial part of it, but it's other things. It's using other people's time, money, talent to get you what you want. And giving them what they want at the same time. So, you know, just like with the platform we do, you know, just a coaching platform, there's no way that I would individually coach people, because first of all, you have to charge them $50,000 a year, and then you have to kind of become their slave. And if you're out there really doing deals, who's going to do that? What person really has the time to be that accountable to a person that's not a partner of theirs, that's just bringing the money? And it's like, it's not enough. It's just not enough. And so our coaching is group coaching. Because when I get on a call, I want there to be synergy. I want there to be 20 or 30 people. I want there to be real problems that we can deal with. I want us to be effective, and I also want to leverage my time. You know, if I've spent 40 years learning how to do something, I don't want to talk like, for example, let's use a document, a deed of trust. Everybody says, well, what is a deed of trust? And even 9 out of 10 investors probably don't really understand what a deed of trust is. I don't want to explain that to one person 50 times, right? I'd rather explain it to 50 people one time. So when I'm looking at getting the highest and best return on my time, then I've got to do things where I'm not doing it 50 times. I'm doing it one time and getting 50 times the result. And that's to me, that's the only way I'm going to do group coaching moving forward. We've done the high-end coaching, the one-on-one coaching, and if the student has a deal, then it'll be one-on-one coaching for the deal. But we're all about making the deals happen, and then we do the group coaching. So we're leveraging that. So do you want to talk about how people use leverage money-wise?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Everybody loves talking about money.
About money?
Yeah.
Yeah, so most time people hear leveraging, they're talking about leveraging other people's money, or leveraging your money, not other people's money, using other people's money to leverage your money. And let me give you I'll give you kind of a summary, and then I'll give you an example, kind of a bizarre example that you've never heard of, probably haven't heard of, but it's pretty cool how they do it. So the classic way is like, let's say you have a $100,000 house. If I can buy that house with $10,000 down, and that house goes up in value 10%, right, in 1 year, it's either forced appreciation in the sense that I fixed the house up and created appreciation, or it's just appreciation. You know, the values of the property go up because the supply goes down and the demand stays constant, or the demand goes up and the supply doesn't go up. You know, if there's a mismatch, then you're going to get the appreciation. Or it's basically the same thing, but you're in the path of progress. So if the house were to go up 10% in 1 year, which it has last year and the year before, your average house in Texas and generally across the United States, then a lot of places even more. Like if you're in Austin right now, it was a great time to have a portfolio of houses already in the books. So if that value goes up 10% and you have $10,000 in a $100,000 deal, your return on your investment, with all things being equal, is 100%. That's 100% return. And what it basically means is you doubled your money in 1 year. And Jimmy Napier used to call that 2%. Anytime I can get 2% on an investment, I'll do it. And what he's really talking about is anytime he could double his money. So to make 100% return with a $10,000 investment, if you buy a $100,000 thing, the tenant, let's say the tenant pays on it, doesn't cost you any money out of your pocket, taxes, insurance, mortgage payment, and at the end of the year, it's worth $110,000, and you bought it for $100,000, but only used $10,000 of your own money, then that return on your investment is 100%. So that's leverage. I'm using that $100,000 debt, and then with a $10,000 investment, I'm getting 100% return on my money. Now, if I had to pay all cash for that house or whatever it is, which is 100,000, and at the end of the year it was worth 110, or I received net profit of 10,000, one way or the other, appreciation or net profit at the end of the year, then my return would be 10%. So you make a $100,000 investment, at the end of the year it's worth 110, or you end up with $10,000 more than what you started with, you got a 10% return. So what do you want? You want 100% return, or you want a 10% return?
Give me a
go ahead.
I said, give me 100 all day long.
Yeah, so we had a lady in the class this weekend, which I thought was a great class. I thought it was a lot of engagement. Everybody I thought stayed pretty dialed in and excited. I like the role playing that we did in the beginning. But the lady said, "Well, I've got X amount of dollars. It was six figures, and I've got this X amount of dollars." And she asked, like, what could I do to get the best return? And she was older, so she's going to be risk averse, should be, and she needed to know like what she could do to get the best return. And so if she can look for these kinds of things where she's leveraging stuff and it's low risk, then that may be something she needs to consider doing. Because in that case, she could buy 10 properties and generate income of about $100,000 on those 10 properties. Now, if she's starting with no experience and not done this before, then that would be a mistake. But it wasn't that long ago, we had a person come to us with they had a couple $1 million in the bank and they wanted to buy real estate. And within a year, they were out of money. And if they could have bought those properties and leveraged their money, now they doubled their money, by the way. So they started with $2 million, and 2 or 3 years later, they sold all those properties and netted over $4 million after closing costs. So that wasn't bad on their part. But if they could have leveraged those things instead of buying like the 18 or 15 houses, they might have been able to buy 40 houses or 35 houses with the same amount of money. And so they could have walked away with that instead of $4 million. They potentially could have walked away with $8 million or $7 million. So they could have used the same amount of money, but used leverage to walk away with it. And the only thing is, anytime you talk about leverage when it comes to money, you've got to think in terms of risk, because if you buy something all cash, you're not going to get the yield that you would if you leveraged it. But also your risks go way down, because what happens if the market changes? What if it doesn't go up? Then you have some concern. So anytime you talk about leverage, you got to also talk about risk. What happens though is people who are in this game and understand this game, they don't max out their risk. They don't max out their risk. They keep their risk within reason, and then they leverage as much money as they can, and they make sure their loan to values are right, and then they'll be fine. So what do you think about that? Did that make sense how I explained that, James, on the leverage with money? Are you still with me? You're muted. You may be talking, but you're muted.
Yeah, we were getting some feedback on Zoom, and so I went ahead and muted myself to see if that's what was causing that. But yeah, I was saying that makes total sense. Leveraging your money, not necessarily dumping all your money into like one basket. You spread out money across several baskets, and you have multiple properties.
Cal was talking about that he also helped us do this class this weekend. And Cal's a hard money lender, but he's also a long-term investor and has quite a few properties. And he talked about, one of the things that a lot of people go in and they pay all cash for these deals. And he's saying one of the advantages to using hard money is that you can walk in literally with 10 cents on the dollar and do the deal for hard money, maybe even less. And then that allows your money to sit out there for other reasons. If you use all your money, you're out of business. And once you get good and dialed into the RIAs and your networking like you should be, you'll get lots of opportunities and find places to put your money. If you use all cash in your deals, you're basically gonna do one or two and then you're out. In fact, with these Airbnbs we've come online, I've been telling myself, like, we've got to we got to get these puppies in order. We got to work on that. It's a lot more expensive getting them up and running than what we anticipated. And so it's like, I might need to dial back just because we have too much going on, and it's hard to manage that. And so, you know, so you just got to think about that. But if you're dialed in and you can handle 3, 4, 5, or 6 deals at a time, then you're probably going to have to learn how to leverage money. And that may mean use a hard money lender, like Hal said, where you put this deal together and in one case we gave, I don't remember the particulars on the deal except the amount of money that you had to bring to the table. He figured it'd be about $12,000. So you bring $12,000 to the table, now you can do another deal. So I think the number was about $170,000. So he can bring $170,000 of strength and power to the table, and it only takes him $12,000 or $14,000 out of his pocket to bring that kind of energy to the table. And when you're plugged in and you're networking, you're communicating with people, a lot of these deals, sometimes these things we're doing, and we spend a lot of time personally and with our students analyzing these deals. But when you analyze these deals and they make sense, and you don't have any money and don't have the ability to leverage other people's money, you have to sit on the sideline. So it's definitely worthwhile to get with people like Cal and other private lenders and figure out how to do this. Find out what Cal's underwriting guidelines are, because we're in the business of being where finding those deals and being where those deals are. And if you don't learn how to leverage your money, you're not going to get the high yields, and you're not going to get you're not going to be able to take advantage of those opportunities, because you're going to be you can be equity rich and cash poor. And that happens to every investor on a regular basis. They end up with tons of equity and then they don't have any cash. And so got to protect that cash. If you got $100,000 in the bank, but don't buy something that you can fix up a rehab for $100,000 and use all your money. Put a fifth of it or a tenth of it in that deal and keep some in reserve and some on the sideline, because it seems like these deals, you won't have a deal for a while, and all of a sudden you get 3 deals that are perfect for you.
So, Ray, a deal comes to mind, and I don't know if it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, or how long ago it was, but this deal, when we talk about this type of subject about leveraging other people's money, for some reason this deal always comes to mind. But I think there was a deal where a student was involved with a deal, and another student was actually able to bring some of the money to the table to make that deal close. So my question is, because I don't remember all the details about that deal, but is there a way that you can leverage multiple sources of money on one deal, or for multiple deals?
Are you referring to one of our students' deals, James?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I know which deal you're talking about. Is basically a deal where I'm not sure I remember it all, but what happened is one of the students didn't really have any money, and we had another student that had money for good deals, and that's not unusual, because if you have money, you need to make sure that when you put it in these deals, it makes sense. You need to make sure the borrower is giving you the right values, that the borrower has the power to put it together, that it stands on its own and makes sense. So if you're say, some of our students are in that place and they need us for that too, because they don't know what a good deal is. They don't know a first lien from a second lien. They don't know how to evaluate the comps. They don't know how to get the paperwork set up. So you need help on that if you don't have experience, because that saying, when the guy with experience meets the guy with the money, the guy with the experience gets the money, and the guy with the money gets the experience. So So you need to know how to take care of yourself on that. In that particular case, those two students had kind of opposite problems. And so with one of them, it was a tax sale, and they needed about $20,000 to bring the taxes current. And we negotiated with the seller to owner finance the property, except for the taxes. She didn't even want any money. She just didn't want to lose the house at a tax sale. So she needed like $20,000, and she didn't have it. And so with the other student put up the $20,000 and got a wonderful rate of return because it made a lot more money for that other person. So the one person borrowed $20,000, but ended up making over $100,000, and the property was worth about $250,000. So with that $20,000, she controlled and managed an asset that was worth over $250,000 and netted her about $100,000. And meanwhile,
wait a minute, Ray. I gotta back up. She borrowed $20,000, did the deal, made over $100,000, and then you said the property was worth like $250,000.
Yeah.
But, so, guys, is that not gold? If you think that's gold and you want to know how to do that, you want to learn, drop gold in the comments. That right there is true leverage. I mean, you borrow $20,000, you make $100,000 profit, and the property's worth $250,000.
Yeah, she controlled the property worth $250,000, and at the end of when the smoke cleared, she netted about $100,000. So, and that happens because in this case it was a tax sale. The seller was real motivated, and you had to know how to deal with the property management issue. There was a big property management issue related to that. She couldn't get the tenant out of there, and she didn't know how to. The seller, the student didn't either. But that's what your coach is supposed to know how to do. They're supposed to know how to solve the property management issues. They're supposed to know how to leverage the money. They're supposed to help you get the money for your deals, or either provide the money. And then when they do those things, they're supposed to be able to tell you how to put that deal together and then get to work. And that's what happened. And just to wrap that story up, the student with the money also they didn't make near that much, but basically they came to closing and wrote a check, and the check was out there for a year, and they got a very high rate of return on their $20,000. And the key is put all that together, make sure all the parties are protected, and you can do those deals over and over and over. It's just a question of getting those leads. And when you get those leads, she wouldn't have been able to do that deal at all. She'd have said goodbye to the $100K, or she'd have had to wholesale it if she wouldn't have been able to bring that $20K to the table. And that $20K is not something that your local bank is going to loan. By the time the bank could figure out how to do the survey and the appraisal and all that stuff, that deal would be long gone. So her ability to get fast money made that deal work. And the ability of the other student that put the money in there, he got incredibly high yield because he was able to move fast also. So when you're dealing in a situation where there's a motivated seller, or there's a situation there's got a ticking clock on it, moving fast can make a big difference.
Just sitting here, my brain started working, and my brain went down a different rabbit hole. But that essentially, another thing that she did when she did that deal, because she knew and she had the support to be able to put that creative deal, she practically eliminated her competition on that. Because like you just said, she could have paid all cash for it, but then she would have been in competition with other people making the offers.
Most people, in that particular case, most people wouldn't put up, unless they're set up to do that, there is no competition. But trust me, there are people set up to do that. And they're out there, they understand it, and they get set up to do it. So that's not too different. Let me give you another example. Many years ago, we were buying a lot of fire damage properties, and we bought a property. Well, there was a loan on a property of about $150,000, and there was fire damage to it. And I don't remember what it was. It was like $30 or $40, $50,000 worth of damage. It doesn't take a lot. And the owner was nowhere to be found. So we turned around and bought the note from the lender. And the loan was $140,000, $150,000. We bought the note for $20,000. Now it's the problem with buying a note is it's hard to get title insurance on it. And if you haven't bought a note from a mortgage company, here's how it goes. And it's very scary the first couple times you do this. After you do it for a while, you figure out how to do it. But typically, when you're buying a note from a mortgage company, it doesn't always go through a title company, right? So we bought this note that when they loaned the money, they had a title policy. So they're going to assign the note to us. So they're going to assign us the rights of whatever rights the note holder has with a title policy. So we're covered, okay, because there is a title policy. But this house was fire damaged. It's $145,000 or $150,000 note, best of my memory. And we talked to the lender, and we ended up buying that property for, we didn't buy the property. We bought the promissory note for $20,000. So the mortgage company basically says, send me $20,000 and we'll send you the assignment. And, the mortgage company's out of state or whatever. It's kind of scary to send them $20,000. You don't know them from Adam, except, it's a big name mortgage company. But in their business, that's very customary. As a real estate investor, that's very uncustomary. We want an escrow officer to hold the money. We don't want anything released and our money released and the documents are right. So we put up the $20,000. Well, I didn't have the $20,000, and I just asked my buddy. I says, "Hey, I need $20,000, and by the way, your collateral is a fire damaged house, right?" He's like, well, "Okay, Ray, I'll do it." And so he wrote me the check for $20,000. We sent it to the mortgage company. The mortgage company turned around and sent us the note. Then we turned around and there's a lot of little nuances of stuff you have to work out, but when you go through this a few times, you get it. So we turned around and we had to foreclose on the note, but we're the note holder. And you remember what I said the balance of the note was? What the face value of that note was?
What was it?
$145,000. Right, because that's what the note was. But when we pay $20,000 for it, that doesn't relieve the person that has to pay on that note. He doesn't have to pay us $20,000. He has to pay us for $145,000 or whatever we can negotiate. So in this particular case, we can go to the auction sale and bid it in at $145,000 because that's what's owed to us. In this case, we didn't do that. We bid in what we thought our profit would be if we rebuilt the fire damaged house. So we bought it for 20, and we offered it for the note, this $145,000 note for sale for $145,000 because that's what was owed to us, right? So in other words, I bought a $145,000 note for $20,000. Of course, the little problem is the collateral was fire damage, right? But a fire damaged house, if you do fire damage like was our expertise, if you do that house, that we're going to make more than $20,000. So my buddy that puts up the $20,000, he could do I hate to say this, a fire sale and sell it for $40,000. So his LTV is good. It's 50% or 60%. So no real risk to him. So we are sending the attorney to bid on it at the foreclosure sale, and we set our minimum at like $60,000. And so the attorney, instead of bidding the note in at the balance of 145, he bids it in at 60, and we had a buyer. So at that auction sale, we sold the note, or basically foreclosed on it, and we had a buyer, and in the deed of trust, they take the deed out of trust and they turn around and sell it or give the deed to the new buyer. Now, if we'd have been 145, we'd have ended up owning that property. So we turned it into a note to a deed. But because we set the minimum at 60,000, we had a bidder at 60,000, and then the attorney brings us back 40,000. They bring us back 60,000, and then I have to get 20,000 plus interest to my buddy, and then the balance of $30-something thousand we put in our pocket. So now what I'm doing is I'm leveraging. First of all, I'm leveraging my knowledge because we're really good at buying fire damage houses. We knew what the dilemma that the mortgage company was in. We knew that they were serious and desperate to sell it to us. So by knowing that knowledge, I knew that. Knowing what the value of that property was and what the cost of repairs were, I knew that with our borrower, we weren't putting them in a risky situation. We knew it was worth multiple times, 2 to 3 times what he was loaning on it. So we didn't do that. So that knowledge, we're leveraging that knowledge. And then, of course, the attorney's expertise and his license, basically, or his right to foreclose on property. Now, in Texas, you don't have to be an attorney to be a trustee at a foreclosure sale, but it's good to have an attorney do it because he's probably going to do it right and protect himself and make sure he's following the rules. Because if you doing a foreclosure, I'm no expert everywhere, but I know in Texas, doing a foreclosure is very technical and very easy to screw up. And so we leverage all these people, plus we leverage that 20,000. We leverage that 20,000 to buy a $145,000 note that really wasn't worth 140, but it damn sure was worth more than 20,000. And in this case, the market said at a quick sale, the market said it's worth 60,000. And by the way, fair market value on a property is not a quick sale. That's when a quick sale means it's gonna be worth less. So the fair market value of that property of that note was probably more than 60,000 because we sold it under quick sale parameters instead of exposing it and giving it time and not forcing people to come up with cash and all that other stuff. So anyway, we leverage that.
So just to
that's a pretty cool story.
You borrowed or leveraged the 20,000, so you didn't even come out of pocket the 20,000.
I had zero out of pocket, and I spent the total amount of time I spent on that deal was about 6 hours.
So you tell me you figured out a way to make 30,000 or what?
About
$5,000 an hour.
Yeah, in that case. Now, I've also lost money at that speed. So, but, when you can make what somebody in that era, that was what an average person was making per year, and you can make that same amount of money with, 6 hours worth of work. Now, you can't do that every time you turn around, but when you see that and you know how the pieces work, then definitely do that. Do it. And get that specialized knowledge, find out what that special knowledge is. And if you can do it, then you can rinse and repeat.
By the way, Ray, well, first of all, before I tell you this little story here, it probably means nothing, but guys, if you have any questions, we're about to wrap up here in the next 5 minutes or so, unless we get a few questions in. Ask your questions and Hal will get those to me because I know tonight's topic and some of the things that we talked about can be mind-blowing. So get your questions in. But what I wanted to tell you just really quick when you were talking, one of the things that you had said was something about, somebody looking for a relative and couldn't find them. I actually the other day ran into, when I took the day off on Monday, I had to go take care of a couple of things and I actually ran into one of your buddies. I'm not going to say his first and last name, but he knows you and a couple of other students pretty well. He's in the car business. His name is Paul. He says that he's got a house that he's going through the same thing on that. He wants us to look at, but he's got several siblings and there's one or two of them that he's trying to find so that he can get out of it. and he said he's willing to negotiate on terms and everything. So I just thought that I'd put that out there, that I ran into one of your buddies the other day.
Well, cool. Well, hopefully he said good things about me.
Of course he did. I have yet to run into a person that knows you that doesn't say anything nice about you.
Well, good.
They always talk really good about you.
Well, tell my wife that.
Well, she probably want to know how much. She probably want to know how much you're paying him to say that stuff.
Yeah.
So, Ray, while we're waiting to see if there's any questions come through, is there any other things you want to talk about as far as leveraging goes? One of the things that I had thought about, during some of the times you were talking, is leveraging other people's resources.
Yeah. That's a good one. And resources can be a lot of stuff. In fact, we have a guy in our San Antonio RIA, and he's a very, very good realtor. And I was talking to another person about how he sets up his operation, and that person asked to talk to them. And it's like, that's a smart thing to do, because this person has got the system down. He knows how to do that. And for you to just take on something and not try to emulate them to some extent is crazy. And what we're doing with Vina is, and I don't know how much you're dialed into this, but Brandon and I this is a project that we're working on, but Vina, in that mastermind group, we're a part of a RIA group that's got 12 or 14 RIAs, and each one of these RIAs have superstars in them. And so by being a part of that mastermind group, we're able to tap into these experts from all over the country, and then provide those trainings and those presentations to our group. In fact, I'm going to do one for the other 12 or 14 RIA groups on negotiation, like a 4-hour deal on negotiation. And every one of those RIA leaders can offer that for, maybe $50, or maybe they just offer it as part of their membership, but they're going to be able to offer that to their groups. And so by us working together, we're leveraging each other's resources on a times 100 or maybe times 1,000 factor. In fact, one of the guys in one of the groups is an accountant / investor that teaches a class on bookkeeping for real estate investors using QuickBooks. So when that comes up, he's going to offer it to everybody in that mastermind group and all their members. So like our member, if you're like a member of Alamo RIA, you're literally going to leverage me and my resources, which is, now it's times 15 or 20,000 other people, because we're tied into that group. You're now going to leverage that, and then get this guy's top notch, and everybody can reach out and learn from this guy and get 3 or 4 hours of training with him. If you look at what the chapter RIAs do with Home Depot, people don't realize it, but Home Depot's largest affiliate in the world is the National RIA. And because we're members of the National RIA, we can reach into Home Depot and get perks and benefits that they don't offer to anybody else. So there's nobody else that offers a lot of these benefits, that because it's the biggest affiliate, they've carved those out for us and our members. And so, like, if you're a member of Alamo RIA Houston or Alamo RIA San Antonio, you're now a member of the National RIA. So the multiple benefits that they offer, you can leverage that and get that resource, because that's set up for you. And so, just if you think of the power of that, why would you not do that? Why would you not be connected to the people that provide these benefits and these opportunities for you when, you know, for a couple $100 a year, you're getting $15,000 worth of power in something. Why would you not do that? I mean, I do it because I totally believe in it. I totally believe that that works, and we use it. I mean, in fact, we got one of the national RIA vendors provides tenant profiles for people, and they give, if you're a national RIA member, you get that at a big, big discount. And so I saw in my email today that we ran a credit report on somebody. We get the criminal report, we got the credit report, we got all that. We got it at a really inexpensive price. And I couldn't have got that if National RIA didn't have 45,000 members in there and they made those people give them a good deal. I mean, think about what Walmart does. Walmart says they tell those people, hey, you're going to sell this item for $1, you know, and they say, okay, we'll do it. Even though they'd want to sell it for $2, they're going to sell it for $1 because Walmart has that customer base where they can control the producers to produce at a price that they want. So our life without leverage, I mean, there's so many different ways leverage is being used, and we need to use that and use it in ways that benefit us, that help us. Back to a real rabbit hole talking about Walmart.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna change that topic there. But slight little correction. It's Alamo RIA. We're just located in Houston or San Antonio, but Alamo RIA is Alamo RIA. So if you're part of one, you're part of the other. We're one big family, and who knows? Maybe one day we'll even be even bigger and cover all of Texas. But just want to let y'all know about a few things that we do have coming up. We do have the pre-foreclosure auction tour in Houston next week that we're going to be doing. That's on the website alamoria.org. So if you want to go to that, we're going to be taking a tour, possibly bidding on some properties, and of course we'll also do a little bit of networking while we're down there too. But again, if you want to go, it's completely free. Just register at the website, and then we also have our radio show this weekend. We have our monthly meetings coming up. All of this stuff is on our calendar. Feel free to check us out. And if you want to know anything that we have going on, or how to work with us, how you can learn how to leverage money or other people's money, we'll have a link in the comments to where you can schedule a call with me. If you're just getting started, or you want to get started, or you're not sure which direction to go, let's jump on a quick call and I can give you some pointers and guidance in the right direction. And who knows, maybe we'll be a good fit. But that's all I've got. Ray, do you have anything you want to close with?
No, just I would say, our channels are alamoria.org. And of course, massivepassiveshow.com is where all our sponsors and any events are going on. They're always there. So go there also.
Which, by the way, he just mentioned Massive Passive. So we have massivepassiveshow.com. That's our radio show website. We also have the Facebook group, Massive Passive Dealmakers. If you're not in that group, that's education focused and based. Join that group, and you'll send a request, we'll approve you. But then also, if you go over to the guide section in that group, I've got a tour that will show you all of our, avenues, all our channels, how you can connect with us. I'll show you our YouTube channel, our website. I'll show you all of our things that we do.
Where's that? Where do you go to get that?
That's in the Massive Passive Dealmakers under the Guides tab. It's the first guide under the Guides tab.
Okay.
It's a tour that gives you a tour of the Facebook group and the YouTube channel and everything. So
let me type that in the chat. So what's a real name of this Facebook group? And I should know it, but if you get one letter wrong, you won't find it. So it's Massive Passive
Dealmakers.
Dealmakers, 3 words. Right?
Yes.
And search on that. And then you go to the Guides tab, and then you have a video in there that shows them how to reach out to all the resources that we have available.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, sounds great.
All right. Well, cool. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Hal. And thank you to our audience. And we will see you guys next week.